The improvisation continues, my friends. Welcome back. Artist Journal, July 25th, 2023, broadcasting from inner space at a new location in Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, cataloging a international digital art revolution still unrecognized by most of the world. We shall see if the thesis is correct. We may not know for years. We may find out in months. It may never happen. But so says I, and I am putting it on the record on video. I have that much conviction on this that I dare put it on the record here. So welcome back, everybody. Check this out. I thought just a kind of a cool, unusual work to get us started here. I don't generally do too much generative art here, but some projects just really kind of stand out. There are no rules, by the way, on this show. Like, I was just thinking that as I was pouring coffee here about 10 minutes ago, this show could go wherever we wanted. I mean, I think, NFTs and digital art, you don't want to stray too much from the mission that people ultimately subscribe to. But I think there could be a lot more history. There could be a lot more just, so it's all a matter of balance. And I wonder if there should be a lot less NFTs. Maybe there should be like 10 or 15 rather than, say, 40. So just thoughts in passing, but time is of the essence here, so let's get going. So I'm tempted to call this Surrealism Light. These kind of different images of objects that are treated with what looks like kind of a blue filter of sorts put in the context of this ceramic tile that could fit in someone's bathroom or kitchen. And interestingly, with this kind of wood underneath, it almost looks like a photo, but I believe this is all generated. So let's take a closer look here. So this is on Object, but it comes from FX Hash. Of course, Object is the aggregator, and this is by someone called Plastic Tolstoy. And they used, for those that are interested in how to make your own generative art project, they used the image composition generated with Pure Spider's PFP token generator. So there is a way to do it. And lucky tiles from the old country number 4. Not a ton have been minted, by the way. Let me just show you here. 0.1, so these are like 8 cents each. 0.1 Tez. Lucky tiles from the old country, only 24 minted. And this was started a few days ago. So there's opportunity to pick a few of these up if you are interested. But it did get me thinking, it'd be a kind of an interesting way to, what if you made 3D real versions of this? Like, I'm sure there's probably services out there where you could get this, your own ceramic tiles made. And I thought just, again, kind of a, again, one of the definitions of surrealism, there are actually quite a few. But one of the definitions, probably the most famous definition based on L'Autre Amant of surrealism is the wedding of two opposite realities in a new context. Ernst liked that one. Of course, Breton, I think the first definition of surrealism was pure psychic automatism, which didn't really hold. I mean, that was more like data, interestingly. And of course, Ballard, his definition, where inner and outer space meet and fuse. So this, to me, reminds me of what we might call your classic definition of surrealism, two opposite realities in a new context, and just juxtaposing different objects here. And I thought just a really kind of a nice, interesting piece here. I mean, here you have a DJ and a rabbit and a pigeon. So interesting work here from Plastic Tolstoy, almost free to mint. So FYI, so just a heads up there. And just kind of a cool, unusual project here. Unfortunately, X is not showing us the details on our super exciting space that we have going on here tomorrow, featuring Cap'n. The great, mystical pixel artist, Cap'n, is going to be joining me and Runetune on tomorrow's Spaces. It is at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so in New York, and 3:30 in Central European Time in Berlin. That will be taking place. Come join. And I mean, Cap'n is one of the most, I find, mysterious artists out of this whole scene, and kind of very profound pixel artist. So I'm just excited to kind of learn what Cap'n has to say, and I was just thrilled that Cap'n was available and willing to come on the show. So another great guest here. And so I have pinned this up. It works on the phone, by the way. For some reason on desktop, this isn't working. But if you go to my pinned tweet, you will see you can set a reminder for yourself if you're interested. Of course, Cap'n does, this is Cap'n's work here. Zico Jam is the Twitter, makes these brilliant works here. Like here, time. You know, again, kind of a metaphysical quality, the door. And again, this figure often represents consciousness or the soul. So again, I like to call it like mystical pixel art. And yeah, and here's that figure again. A trademark signature, you know, Figments, which has been burning up object here. Just burning it up. People love this, as do I. It's kind of like Pac-Man meets mysticism. So brilliant. And of course, pixels, which I think Cap'n just put out a tweet that they might have utility in the sense that they might give you access to other, if you have some pixels, to buy projects, let's say, or works of Cap'n ahead of time. So that is coming up tomorrow. Check that out if you're a Cap'n fan or if you're just interested. Thank you for the comments yesterday and the good vibes. Human Boy, wonderful selection of art as always. Glad the move went well. Thank you. It is still, I'm in the process of unpacking. You have to register. It's a massive job. You know what I'm thinking though? You know what I tell people as far as moving? And what I think I'm going to do is everything I've moved, I want to get rid of 90% of it. Because I don't want to have to go through this if I move again. And I think so I'm going to look at everything that I've actually carried with me as I unpack and say, am I going to use this in the next 30 days? Am I going to make something of this? And if not, I just want to get rid of it. You know, and I was talking to someone who said he moved 20 times when he was a kid because his mom used to flip houses. And he's like, yeah, I barely keep anything because I've moved so many times. That's what he told me. So just interesting. Thank you for the well wishes, Human Boy. And PP Universal, great show. And thanks again for the feature. And Zach Lloyd loved Silva Santu's work, who is also burning up the Nintendo ROMs there. Is so sick. Gonna go scoop one up now. The work by Silva Santus. Thank you, Tom Bombattle. The most interesting channel. Thank you very much. And thanks for the review. Andre Summer Blues, great show. Thank you. And I mean, thanks for the good vibes, guys. Ed Marola, and good to see you, Primitive Intel. I am back. I am back. Amazingly. Amazingly. Just a couple of physical works. We saw a preview of these lenticular cards, only 12 by 12 centimeters. I just saw that. I didn't realize how small these are. So this is Popple's work made physical, and I didn't realize how small that is. I mean, that is like that. I mean, that is not very big. So really cool though. And so lenticular prints, and look at that. You almost get, like maybe this is the solution or a solution for displaying GIFs in physical, because it looks like you can have more than one frame or more than one layer. Like you see how it turns red, so you almost get the animation of the GIF in a physical rendering. So quite brilliant. And we saw that first with, who was it? Was it Stalamir? Maybe 6 months ago. So here's another one. This one's double the size, interestingly, and this is a collaboration with a narrator. And so just really interesting how they've kind of solved the GIF issue to a certain degree. It's a solution. So just interesting work. Explainer, big shout out to Explainer. And again, this is working with Popple and narrator, but Explainer is a big kind of, I would say, behind the scenes supporter of this scene, just, you know, doing stuff. And I think they're based out of China. So that is super cool. As the world sort of heads off a cliff, beautiful leadership is being shown here in the international digital art community. Continuing on, Igor, look at the NFT market. Now, I think this is interesting because I actually don't think this represents what we see on Tezos. Maybe if you expand to the Ethereum digital art scene, I think you would see this a little bit more. But on Tezos, I think because it's so cheap, I'm not Like, and I'm just going anecdotally here. I don't have the data, so I don't know how much is being spent. If someone does have the data, that would be super interesting. Feel free to tag me if you actually know that data. But all to say, I still see, like, when people put out a good artwork or an artwork that people are excited about, they sell out immediately. Like, if I was just looking at what I see on Object, I don't see any bear market at all. I wouldn't know there was a bear market. Excuse me, but let's see what Igor says. The NFT market has collapsed. Nothing is happening. I think that's debatable. As I was just saying, most communities are inactive. Many people have already left. There's no easy money to be made. And maybe this is the problem. Maybe this is the reason. I think maybe the focus was too much on the easy money in the NFT market as things went from, say, here or from here all the way up to there and down and then even higher. So maybe, but it's not dead. It's not at zero, at least not yet. There's absolutely no reason, no incentive for newcomers to enter the NFT space right now. Well, there's no financial incentive, but, I was just talking to my friend Bob, who helped me move, Roberto, who is a brilliant photographer. And I was just telling him, you should get on Tezos because there aren't that many photographers. I think your work would sell. And just as a photographer, he's 29, pretty young. He's got his own style already, very talented. It would just increase your range. And it would also be a way, he has a Twitter. It's inactive though. And, he was showing me, and it has like 1 like and this sort of thing, and felt kind of discouraged by the whole Twitter experience. But I was like, maybe you should get on the NFT thing, and then it's probably a better way to get followers on your Twitter or your X, account, and start just because it's just a nice thing to have in your pocket. Because if this thing comes back, and when you look at the trends I just don't see, like, this may die for 10 years for all we know, but I don't see it not coming back, is sort of my point. I think the people who are in it, we're having too much fun. So there is a reason to actually be, for newcomers to enter, which is to have fun, and you don't want to come in like it was in 2021 when every artist from the trad art scene was trying to get in. And because they saw all the money that all the digital artists were making at the height of the bull market, and they were kind of out of luck, right? So now is the time to start building and do it for the love of it. And the great thing is you can actually still make some money. I mean, and some people do really well. So I think it's just, it's just the cycles here. So just interesting to see that. This was going around, and I did want to touch on it, because I thought it was interesting. So, excuse me. So, Anonymu is a prominent collector. And so, let me just go to this original. So, Anonymu bid on this piece here, on this kind of cool illustration from an artist that I don't think we've looked at before. And it has all sorts of stuff. There's the how do you pronounce that? Migos, which is a popular NFT project. Just there's skateboard, there's car parking lot. Big kind of surreal work here with a long leg piano and everything. And so first, Bogan Blagan said, GM, Anonymu 2311 just made an offer for my work. Wow. It is an honor for me that legends pay attention to my work. I will be happy to accept this offer, but I will give it a little time. Maybe someone wants more. Maybe someone wants it more. And here it is, Claimland active offer, and there is the price. And I thought this was actually pretty common practice in the NFT scene. I mean, on a personal level, I think we've all dealt with this. Every artist who's gone in the auction process, you wonder how much do you want to... You don't want to alienate the collector that just bid on your work. But I thought it was pretty common practice for artists to do this. I don't think it's the first time we've seen this. So Anonymu, again, a prominent collector in the space, wasn't happy. I find this offensive. This piece was minted 1 month ago with 0 bids. I placed an offer above the reserve price. The artist is now trying to market the piece using my name to achieve a higher price. Makes me sad because I love cats, basketball, skateboarding, and Nakamigos. So, yeah, so he wasn't happy at all. And usually collectors don't really say anything. Like, one would assume that you're not going to be thrilled, but I thought it kind of was par for the course. And feel free to disagree, anybody out there. I don't think this is relevant at all. This piece was minted 1 month ago with 0 bids. I don't, so it's an interesting debate because, I mean, I think almost everybody who's ever had an auction has had this dilemma. And, when I started at Super Rare, when I was in the, they actually said, this was like late 2020, early 2021. If you get a bid, you go on Twitter and you try and get the collectors to kind of battle it out. So it was interesting because this created a whole debate here. I placed an offer above the reserve price. Again, I'm not sure. Like, I get it. I see the collector's view here. I don't think this is offensive, though. I mean, put it this way. If it's the first time, it's not the first time I've ever seen it. In fact, I would say it's common practice of kind of up-and-coming artists. When they get a bid, they say, so-and-so just bid. I'm going to give it a few more hours, and if anybody wants to go in. I mean, I thought this was common practice. Correct me if I'm wrong out there. It seems to me a bit of an overreaction is sort of my... And then the artist is now trying to market the piece using my name to achieve a higher price. So, I don't know. I just think a little bit more generosity is... Let's not forget, people are just trying to make their way, and it's not like... just made an offer on my work. Wow, like it's an honor, is what the person said. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of an overreaction, and yeah. So it just created this big debate here. And here's the work again, and it ended up going to someone called Pseudo James. So I guess Anonymous, he bought it. I guess it was sold to Anonymous, and then. Exactly. It was accepted, I guess, maybe after that tweet came out, and then sold it for the exact same price. So was very unhappy here. And then Pseudo James ended up buying it. Maybe he felt bad for the artist. And again, here's the artist again. And I don't know if it's like Warhol says there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's not what they say about you. It's how many inches they write about you in the newspaper. How many inches of article do they read about you? And I think this is actually a case in point here. Like, this artist should not be too disappointed because all of a sudden then all of a sudden now we're talking about him on YouTube at the start of a show, right? And I'm going, oh, this is an interesting artist. Maybe I should follow this artist. I like the sunset. I like how they're divided, just interesting digital illustrator, interesting content. So it's kind of back to this idea of there's no such thing as bad publicity as well. Unknown Collector weighed in on this. Man, you're sensitive. All these worthless PFP projects are pumped on the timeline all the time from every holder. And when an artist wants to market his art, you get offended. First, they say artists don't know how to market themselves. Very true. This is a common criticism, like these dumb artists don't know how to market themselves. Then they say artists market themselves different than the collectors would like to see it. Now you're not marketing the right way. It's getting really ridiculous out here. How about being happy that your name helps the artist to market their art? Exactly. Again, it's kind of back to just, as the great life coach, success philosopher Brian Tracy says, assume the best. Just assume the best. And I think that's wise words, and I think that's basically what Unknown Collector is saying. Just be happy that you're helping out an artist. Assume the best. Flannel Capital, artists, please don't do this. So the opposite view. I just want my art to resonate with someone, and I'd love to make a sale. Above reserve offer comes in. Again, I don't see this as being... I take the point. Okay, it's even more than you were asking by maybe like 0.0 by like $20. I mean, what was it? I mean, it wasn't like it was the reserve was 0.15. So, okay, so you offer 0.0069 ETH. I mean, what is that? 12 bucks, 20 bucks, 100. It's not 100. It's probably like 12 bucks. So, and this is really being emphasized here. And even if it was 100 or 200 bucks, it's not like the offer is coming in at 5,000 bucks and this person's being ungrateful. It's coming just above their minimum reserve. It's not even a buy now, right? So it's an auction. And then, so more criticism. Let me leverage the name recognition of this collector to fish for a higher bid, so short-sighted. And maybe, you know, if this is a prominent collector here, and it sounds like it is, and I've seen Anonymous before, you know, buys lots of NFTs. You know, again, I'd say assume the best is sort of my advice. And finally, Mikkel Knowlson, whose work we were looking at yesterday, we're going to look a little more here. I personally think publicly shaming artists for this is bad form from collectors. It's very easy to talk to one-to-one before making an example of them to thousands of people. The fact that this work is on a reserve for auction and not listed as a buy now might be an indication that the artist would make it public. Also, if 1 month is a long time, when was that line crossed? Well, exactly. Like, what difference does that make, right? Maybe there wasn't, maybe they didn't market it that well at the beginning. A simple situation developed from a lack of communication in the first place that could have been resolved privately. I understand the frustrations here, but this could trash the artist's career for a very minor thing compared to all the real stuff that's going on out there. Yeah, I would actually maybe disagree with this part, though. I think this artist is more famous than they've ever been, and it's kind of back to that. But I take the point. Like, maybe it gives a bad reputation, and that's important in this business. So anyway, just an interesting debate for us to discuss. Now, we looked at a AI vase by Evelyn O yesterday, this one here. And this is part of the, I think it's the Vertical Crypto Art Residency Program, online residency and accelerator program for digital culture. A lot of works are coming out actually from this. And so just a little bit on the process. I always wanted to do a 3D piece with some help from Mikkel Knowlson right here, who we just looked at, and inspiration from Jonas Wood and Jennifer Rockland Earns, and Pocobelli talking about the Peloponnesian Wars pieces in a space. The move by Prigozhin, Brazilian footballer, magician, and strategist Socrates. There's Socrates, the great soccer player from Brazil. I ended up with a piece, Alcibiades method. So that is what came in. This is kind of like the building blocks of that work here that went on to make this. So interesting. Interesting. Just very interesting. Kind of in Alcibiades method, cool title, and interesting. Again, maybe it's just my own personal interests here, but interesting to see the modern kind of war imagery on a vase. So cool work and interesting explanation. So here's Mikkel Knowlson, and this I just wanted. So we were looking at Mikkel Knowlson's work yesterday, and it's in this actually very cool gallery, Arium, and here's actually like a 3D sculpture here. And so I got a message. Let me just dig it up here from Mikkel of the process here. The featured work is mostly made from a mix of fluid sims converted to meshes with my former digital paintings stenciled onto them, then manipulated to make new shapes. So that is how these are made. I built up a library of these 2D objects and kind of kit bash, collage, and digitally paint with them. You can walk around the show I made if you like, and here's the show. So I just thought that was pretty cool and interesting. So that is how they are made. It's not just simply sampling taking a sample like Ed Marola, let's say, and dragging it. It's quite a bit more complex, and cool little fish up there too. So continuing on into some work here, Lorna Mills with a really stylish work, I'd say, Blood Horse. I love the beiges here with this 1970s car on fire. Edition of 32 for 15 Tezos, and there are 7 left, so that is selling quite nice. Cool title there too, Blood Horse. A monologue in a moment of despair by Demon Ego, so another cool work here. And again, playing with that sketchbook and physical world, going from the physical to digital and back. And here we see really coolly, it's almost like this is magic wand selected a little bit here, because you see it across the shadow here. And then that selection is turned into digital GIFs. So really blending the physical and the digital together here in a really interesting way. Again, this looks like physical, this drawing here, but then filled with really unambiguously digital imagery. And especially here, we see the massive dynamic large-scale pixels here. So just more really interesting work from Demon Ego. And I love how Demon Ego shows the cutting board. I think that's what you'd call it at the back here, this grid as part of the work. A nice touch there. So really interesting work. Edition of 10. There are 6 left at 10 Tezos. And a new artist that I don't think I've seen before, Kuda, and Rien00. Artwork by Rien00, interface by Kuda, desolated home of the champions. So again, playing with UIs as subject matter, which is something we see a lot here, and I think a lot of us really like and appreciate. So playing with the baseball scoreboard as a UI, user interface, and here are a couple of baseball players seemingly on the screen, kind of almost glitched out a little bit, and then almost a bit of a sci-fi background here. So interesting, mysterious work from Kuda and Rien00, 5 Tezos, and there are 13 left. And Louis, with a really unusual work here also, Juicy Lie offers a nice clean hit. A juicy lie indicates the ball is sitting on top of the grass as it is mounted on a short tee. So again, playing with the kind of summer sport baseball theme, although this looks more like golf, actually. That looks like a hockey puck. Lazarus ball. So just kind of interesting. Kind of looks like video game imagery, but not glitch ROM. And maybe that's the difference that we see here. So interesting work there. PP Universal with another super interesting work. This cigarette, this handmade of cigarettes, I thought was quite brilliant. And then just a cool kind of dynamic background. But I've never seen that before. And I thought just another really interesting work, playing kind of with the fill from PP Universal. And Rinnyfish. Now, we didn't look at this work from Object 1, but it's fantastic. This sold, by the way, I think for 310. We'll take a look in a second. This is part of Unknown Collector's show. Just really awesome work from Rinnyfish. And, of course, Rinnyfish was on a Spaces that we had a couple of weeks ago, and she has gone full-time. So big congrats to her, and she's doing well. So here, a 1 of 1. Again, it's sold for 310 Tezos to Bijou, who buys almost all 1 of 1s in that collection. And Rinnyfish just put out a new one, and this is also for the Vertical Crypto Art Residency. So I think they're releasing all of the works from this residency, from this group, and this is called Rain on Plum, edition of 15, and hasn't been listed yet. And let's just see. Just great audio on these, aren't there? Beautiful. You know, it's kind of a fun way. I don't know how Rinnyfish is making the audio, but it's kind of a fun way to use like modern synths, software synths, because they have beautiful effects these days. Excuse me, still suffering the allergies here. Let's continue. Beautiful. Great color, too. Big shout out to Rinnyfish. And big shout out and congratulations to Ratcloak, who has put out a new kind of edgy, experimental work in the Fake Bacon series with what looks like Elon Musk here. A double Elon Musk with some blood coming out and then someone almost eating their hand here that's kind of melting into their face. So a lot of experimentation here. The shadow drifts off into almost blurry kind of out of focus blurriness, some nice brush strokes here and everything. Interesting color, kind of dark seeming. 2 figures in a green room. Again, kind of a homage of sorts to Francis Bacon. We see it with the kind of circular, with I'd say the compositional background is the setup, we might say, is very Bacon-esque. Although this looks like a Ratcloak edition here. Interesting touch. Who does that remind me of? That reminds me of what artist that Daniel W. This reminds me of, where he'll put this sort of stuff on the side of a canvas. I wonder if there's an influence there. Anyway, big congrats, and point to offer. The reserve was met. So now, I just think it brings up this dilemma that we're just discussing. Now is Ratcloak not allowed to say, hey, thank you so much, Tempert, for bidding. There are 4 hours that, I mean, I thought this was common practice for people to do that. And so I'm not sure, maybe I'm missing a subtlety in that previous discussion, but I don't see anything wrong with that. It's really just informing people that, if you want this work, it's about to go, so now is your chance to jump in and make another bid. To me, it's almost just, as far as I'm concerned, it's a press release by the artist saying, this is about to go, heads up, everybody, heads up. So that's how I see it. Kappa Sage with a cool digital painting here, As on Earth as in Hell. Neither Heaven Nor Hell is the subtitle. Edition of 10 for 16 Tezos 66. And here we see a bunch of kind of Pepe figures in the background. Almost a shout, here's like a hat tip to Rat Cloak, I think, from that other work where you had a Bored Ape head being on display. Here it is a CryptoPunk. And here are just some interesting figures. So again, kind of all the complexity almost of a Renaissance work here with these figures in the front and the arrows, almost a kind of light Saint Sebastian reference, but maybe not. And these figures almost, again, but it has all these kind of, the 3-part triangle, also kind of Renaissance-like. And then all these figures in the background here, another ambitious composition. And then the two here, very kind of mathematical. And these guys are on swings. Just interesting work, again, from Kappa Sage, where these bodies almost turn into hands too, kind of surrealistically. And there's the Bored Ape over here, the head of the Bored Ape. So interesting work from Kappa Sage. Katerina Create with another cool image here, illustration, pansies. And I thought this was quite beautiful, kind of a new discovery here. Going to take another glass of water here. You know what I like best about this? Just looking at it now, what I find the most kind of creative and interesting and maybe unusual is you see how the black outline is used for whenever Katerina needs to divide the body. But for the outline of the body, it's not used. It's only used, and here, most dramatically, on the knee, it's used to separate the leg here. But then when it comes to just an outline on its own where it's unambiguous, you don't need it. I think quite original. It actually creates its own style. So interesting work here, and then no outline on the flowers or the butterfly. Katerina Create, only a Tezos 50, super low edition, 3 left. Interesting talent there. Element Lee, with more just like, provocative pixel art, provocative in the sense that it's hard to kind of rationalize really what Element Lee is doing, but it seems like just like, again, kind of pictures of an interior here. Here's a sink, here's a bathroom, here's a laptop. Super interesting color as usual, very unusual. You have to love how the keyboard is done here, if that is a keyboard, or the shadow, the light of the screen over here on the keyboard of this very roughly done, again, feels like handcrafted, pixel art. Kind of, it feels like Element Lee is freestyling with like a mouse or with a stylus, whatever it is, but it feels like this is not from I was going to say not from a photo, but then you see the toilet here, and that looks actually pretty photographic. So not sure. Just very interesting, again, provocative work from Element Lee, edition of 20. There are 18 left at 6 Tezos. Great color, super original color. And not a number, with another work here using, again, I think they call it JS5 programming for the dithering, and then using GIMP for the color. So it's interesting to watch these get more and more complex. Collect for 10, doubling the price, a 1 of 1. So cool work here from Not a Number. Still available. Generated P5JS, generated dither and GIMP. And of course you recognize this as Santiago. I like these lower resolution Santiago works. There's something kind of, I'd almost use the word provocative and kind of unusual and original about them again, because we saw the smaller pixeled works, but there's something just kind of hilarious about it. because it really is abstract pixel art when you start getting this small. I mean, we're probably on a 200 or 300 pixel, probably a 200 pixel canvas square, I'm guessing here. And so there's just kind of very interesting work here and interesting development, interesting variation from Santiago. Mason the Third with a 1-of-1 glitch ROM here. Broken Tides. And just kind of minimal. And you gotta love the palm trees here on this island. If that is what that is what it looks like. And I guess repeated here, looks like a big sea, kind of an impressionistic glitch ROM. Broken Tides, ROM corruption and hex edit, Game Boy Color from Mason the Third, 30 Tezos, 1-of-1. Great artist. Silva Santus with a couple of more, so super prolific here. Roll Up, Dragon's Earth. So moving down, you know, really putting their own feel on this. So there's this one, and then there's Roll Up number 2. Again, playing with that kind of vertical movement here. And nice little sunset there. Looks like a Japanese temple, maybe, in the background. Interesting color. By now for almost nothing, 0.60 Tezos. So almost free. Green Ginger at auction for 6 Tezos. This is what looks like a city. And what is this? This isn't, this is just, is this FX hash? I'm not sure. Maybe this is, no, this is a series of 128 by 128 minimalistic pixel art. So interesting. And we have this, you know, very, what looks like an apartment block at night. And then we have like what looks like maybe a farmhouse or a shed. Interesting smoke coming out here. A cozy little house with a chimney plus a garage. So again, you gotta love all this stuff here. Again, it's like impressionistic pixel art is how this feels. Dream, just a simple work here, pixel work made by PC Paint 3.1 from Byte by Bit. So maybe that complements Love quite beautifully. So Dream. I like this composition top right, very minimalistic and actually really nice gray, contrasting with these other colors here. I think really nicely put together. 1-of-1 for 15 Tezos. Here's Explainer again. Supporting this scene, collaborating, like Explainer, I really like what they're doing because I think they're kind of gaining credibility with a lot of these great artists before they might blow up. And I think Explainer, you know, even working with Popple, you know, I've worked with Explainer, and all I have to say is they were very professional, very friendly. And if you get a chance to work with Explainer, do it. I just think they're really smart to be doing what they're doing. Maneki Nico. So this is by Manidal, a great pixel artist here. And you know what my favorite part was? I love the middle, and I have a friend that collects these cat statues, I guess you'd call them. There's probably a name for them. I like the background, the desktop. I thought this was brilliant with the window on top. Again, kind of celebrating the user interface, celebrating the OS. And here you have the folders, the JPEGs, the disk. Just really interesting. So edition of 25, and so that has not been listed yet. And Tomb Battle. This is part of the new series Spectrum Aesthetics, Gates of Time, aesthetic collection of paintings in 8-bit retro colors. So this looks like continuing with the alien theme a little bit, doesn't it? And you see even just a little bit of the light here coming from above, and a kind of almost primordial sky here, and a flower coming out of a skull here. So just interesting pixel art from Tomb Battle, 8-bit retro colors, sticking with the palette, the kind of classic palette, we might say. Notorious Man XTZ, Kramus. So this looks like a bit of a landscape, doesn't it? This looks like kind of a river here, and just kind of flashing, and maybe some figures with kind of lasers, or something dripping out of the eyes, and kind of a, you know, cloudy and dark sun, or maybe, who knows what that is. Just an interesting kind of work here. So nice work by Notorious Man XTZ. 220, 2 left. And so doing really well with the pixel art there. Zoxo, so who plays with these kind of video game elements and creates pixel art out of it. I mean, this looks like, I'm guessing, like the star out of Super Mario. and then turning it into a GIF. Stars Destination, open edition, very low edition right now at 5. 1 day left, Tezos 69. So cool work there. Ricano with another cool work, Seriously Distracting. So playing with the Game Boy, what is this? The Game Boy, I'm trying to remember which one this is. Game Boy Advance is what this is. I wonder if I had that. I don't think I did. I think I wanted it though. And this is 15 Tezos. So again, playing with kind of everyday objects and kind of busting them apart and then dithering them. So just giving people what they want, really. Cool work from Ricano. 15 Tezos on secondary. Let's just see. On primary, sold out at 5 Tezos. And there's McRenders and everybody here. Kyle Flemmer, back with another Simpsons kind of, I guess, glitched out analog video treatment. Zenith CRT TV rescanned, color corrected, and reanimated in Photoshop. Interestingly, Trash Wave. Oh, so using trash here too. Only 50 cents, edition of 100, and 15 are available. So again, I thought this was quite, I quite like the snowy TV. I thought it was just an interesting composition. It kind of feels like a contemporary art museum over here, doesn't it? Very, very nice texture over here. Interesting quote, we might say, out of the show. An interesting transition with the noise, the snow of the TV there, as we used to call it. Kyle Flemmer. Mika Oladev with more artifacts here. Artifact 16, and this is an edition of 7 for 8 Tezos. So kind of playing with these portraits that are totally glitched out here. So super interesting. 5,000 by 5,000, pretty large work. Here's another one, Artifact 17. And this is an edition of 1. And this sold out for 35 Tezos to NFT Spritz. So kind of noisy, kind of interesting. Again, kind of a very, I guess you call it glitch artist. And you even see what looks like video still in the background. So maybe a couple of layers of glitch. And of course, this is Sky Goodman with a really nice piece here. No Face, No One, just posted to Twitter. I thought great color. And there's something about when you just remove the face like this. I've used that a lot in the Screen Memory series, and these are just beautiful textures here. So really nice piece here, and really nice glitch, I guess you'd call it, from Sky Goodman. Just maybe it's a screen capture, I'm not sure. Beautiful work from Sky Goodman. Pearl is back. So this is the AI version of another artist whose name, I want to call it Pantone or something, but that's probably Pastelay. That's who the artist is. Pastelay is the artist who, so this is their AI work, and so this is called Venus Blush, and this is a 1 of 1 for 14 Tezos. So interesting kind of sci-fi AI, and someone on their tablet, kind of futuristic looking portrait of a woman with, again, it feels very futuristic. It is almost like futuristic hat and futuristic clothing. Interesting work, and here's another one. Nova Naker, Fluid Pearlescent Humanoid. So again, kind of feels like a portrait of the future, a window on the future, and kind of this very futuristic clothing and haircut, and even just the makeup. Pretty persuasive. Again, 1 of 1 for 14 Tezos. And I'm so glad this loaded up here. MCHX, also from the Vertical Crypto Art Residency. Let's make this large. So this is 1:20, so we can't show all of it, but we'll show a little snippet here. Again, playing with the color fields and also breaking the composition a little bit here. And this, of course, is using AI as well. So just cool work here from MCHX, who we've been looking at, and I'm going to speed through it here, but look at it on your own. So you see just beautiful transitions here and gradients from MCHX, AI Infused Abstraction 01. This is available for 200 Tezos, a 1 of 1. I thought this was pretty cool. Simon Lavie and someone, it was actually Lily Illo who posted this. Look at this. So clearly AI distortions here. I mean, that almost looks like Lindsey Graham or something over here. Hilariously. In here, like, I mean, what does that remind you of? Salvador Dali. What does that work with the arm? I think it was the Spanish Civil War. Shall I show it to you? Very quickly here. How are we doing? These shows, Spanish Civil War with baked beans. Maybe that's not the right. Yeah, doesn't it remind you? I mean, this arm here looks almost exactly like this arm here. It looks almost exactly, well, very similar to this one here. So interesting AI surrealism here, working with the distortions, celebrating with the AI distortions. So very interesting. So this is actually a Genesis work from this artist Simon Levy. Excited to announce my Genesis on super rare body language. So interesting Genesis piece from this artist here, Simon Levy. Pretty cool. Lily Illo, the minor chords. So this is a work in progress. And we've looked at a lot of Lily Illo's work, and it's interesting to see, like, you know, you might be tempted to say, oh, that's ready, but for Lily Illo, this is very much a work in progress. And I think that shows how much that AI artist, how much work goes into this. Like, it'll be fascinating actually to see the final version and how different it is. So just very interesting, a work in progress. And look at this. See this AI distortion of the two pinky fingers bleeding into each other. So really nice, kind of an intense portrait here too. The minor chords, cool title, if that's a title. John Thurman, with kind of a modern version of the Edward Hopper piece to a certain degree, till number 37, Morning Coffee. Just kind of a cool work. Maybe it doesn't have, it reminds me of Edward Hopper, but just kind of a very contemporary situation. Again, AI art, I'm pretty sure, and interesting perspective here too. Interesting angle with a little bit of breakfast and coffee here, making me hungry. This is a 101 at auction for 3 Tezos. So this has been bid on. Yeah, and people are battling it out here. So congratulations to John on that. And almost done here, Zancan with generative art here. Bluebird. So Zancan is a very prominent, maybe one of the most prominent generative artists. So celebrating the end of the Twitter logo here, combining it with flowers. And I think this is all made with JavaScript code. Generative drawing, 5,000 by 7,500. Buy button, beautiful bids. So 87 Tezos, edition of 100. Like, that's how strong Zancan's market is. You know, the last one sold for 87 Tezos. So very strong market for an edition of 100. So Zancan has one of the biggest mega following for generative art. Tater Tots with another physical work here as we wrap up. So just a cool, I thought really well put together, kind of like, you know, I guess they called Basquiat neo-expressionists. I mean, it kind of has a neo-expressionist sort of feel with all of the brush marks and everything. Really nicely done. Snafu, sticker number 10. And this is an edition of 15 for $250 Tezos. And that is your show, my friends. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you on Thursday, but until before then, I'll see you on Twitter Spaces with Cap'n, also known as Figments, and Rune Tune. So thanks again for joining me. Until then, take care.